Right guys, quick vid response and some updates on what's been going on. A couple of things just came in on the forums, overlay problems for the waterfall, not being able to turn them off and on, and same call sign. Norbert, what else? Not able to, audio. Oh no. Another audio problem as well, where the levels are not stored. So I've got it in DigiU, and I'm just monitoring the virtual audio cable. If I set this to -40, you can see it disappears there on Audacity, and you know, maxed out sort of thing. So let's stick it to -40 and load up Thetis again. And wait for it to start up. And it's there's nothing coming up here, and it's -40. If I move that up to there, say, shut it down. Oops. Thetis again. Get this up and running. Connect up, and there we go, it's back up high again. So I don't know what that issue is. I haven't been able to replicate it. The VAC-RX level in DigiU mode you can save, but it's not applied. Well, it is on here, so I don't know if it's a database issue or something else, and I can't view the video you made, Thomas. It's private. So what else? The other problem was unable to do this waterfall overlay. Right, let's get rid of that in a minute. Change it to 1080. The waterfall overlay, right, setup, appearance, here it is, waterfall overlay, switch on, all that stuff, hit OK. Shut down. And when I last tested this just now, it appeared no problem. There it is. If I do setup, appearance, RX display, turn this off. Start it back up. And it's not on there, so I can't replicate that either, which is very interesting that two things are related potentially to database issues. So not entirely sure about that. Now there was some changes back earlier in 21, I think B or A maybe, related to the state recovery of all this stuff, so there may be something to do with that. I'm not sure. But I will look at it after. Right, display. Let's get that back, because unlike you, I like it on. Right, let's get into some stuff. Okay, this has changed. Let's just default this up a minute. You can hover over these to get the DBMs, and you can drag them around, and you get a readout, of course. What I haven't done is put a lower and upper bound, because it's actually relatively a fair bit of work. It sounds simple to do, but it's not, because well, as you can imagine, we're at -130 to -135 there on the gradient. Those nodes or points don't exist in here, so when I'm creating the data to use as a gradient, it essentially linear interpolates across the correct amount. And basically generates what's required for this. But if I have some sort of zoom system on here, or an adjuster either end, it's going to take some rework of the code. That's all. But there we are. What else? Couple of bugs and stuff have been fixed. Let me just load up the log on the other screen. Yeah, the 0 beat thing, that's quite nice. If we go to 0909.909, which is AM station here in the UK, AM. We can be off frequency in center tune mode and hit 0 beat, and it will get back there. So that's resolved. Some other state problems with the display engine, that's been fixed. There'll be a big changelog anyway. What's interesting for this video? There was something I've noticed, and it's a bit of a gotcha. When you're doing your DSP, your phase analysis, make sure that C-tune is off, because you cannot alter frequency, I think, with it on when you're in the phase screen. So if we get to 0, which is where it is, 909 meg, that's where that station is meant to be. If we have C-tune on, I don't believe, yeah, see, nothing is happening. That's a bug, I know about it, but I haven't resolved it yet, so it's just a gotcha. So that's that. Fix that crash problem with N1MM as well. Okay, VFO sync no longer changes C-tune state. So if you've got 2 receivers on, and one of these is on C-tune, and you hit this, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't alter the state of this, because in this system now you can actually the receiver 2 is in C-tune mode, so we can actually move this around. And whilst it looks strange, it is actually correct. This one is on click tune off, and it's on 915, and this is click tune on, and it's at 915. So yeah, it is correct. And you can have both in that mode as well, in click tune mode, and they'll be out of sync now because they're shifted. And then they get in sync. So yeah, it's quite flexible, that is. What else? Yeah, setup form no longer reads in the whole database. It only reads in stuff that have changed, items that you've changed. So if you have the setup window open, of course it'll vanish in a minute when I drag this around, and I hit cancel. Notice how it doesn't alter this. However, if I make a change to well, if I set it back there, say, go in here, go to display RX1 and alter it with this, and then hit cancel, it restores it from the database. It doesn't restore it to where you last moved it to. It does do the restore from the database, so just bear that in mind. Everything is rounded to 6 digits now internally, which wasn't happening before, which there was a little issue with if you use mouse wheel on the 3 on the hertz here, the orange red ones. If you use the mouse wheel on there, there would be an error that would accumulate, and it was only noticeable with that phase display, which was quite interesting. Okay, right, BandStack, which is the main point of this video. It has been quite a task, to be honest. It was really intertwined in the code. Lots and lots of strange things going on in there. But over the last, well, probably 3 days now, I've actually been improving it and refining it. It's taken about a week to implement this, to be honest. So there we are. Right, let's have a look anyway. BandStacks. That's the new BandStack2 window. That's the initial version of it anyway. You get to it by clicking on the number up here, which shows you what position you are, of how many you've got. Unlike the other system, you can have as many as you like in there. You can literally have 100 if you want. It's entirely up to you. The BandStack, if you click on the band, it cycles, of course. Notice that one changed because we did have a different frequency selected, even though we were on that. So we're 541, 521. Go to the net. Now what's going to happen here is this one is going to rejig to that number. So there we are. That appeared like that and moved us on to the next one. What you've got to bear in mind, this is fully sorted. Always sorted. So if we go to this frequency at this slot and we move it, so we change frequency on here above say 650, so this slot will now move into this gap here between 650 and 715. When we hit the band button, we should move to 541, 521, which is exactly what happened, and that other one moved up. I'll show that again. So with 541, 521, let's move that to above 715, which is there. So this slot will look as if it's appeared there, and everything will shift down. So this 650 will come here, and our blue bar won't actually move. It takes a while to get used to it, but once you're used to it, it's kind of okay. It's a lot easier to present them sorted in terms of code. At the moment, I may implement something to maintain an an unsorted list, but I'm not sure yet. Okay, so you can click these as normal, and if you change one, so we go up 1 hertz on that, and we click another one, that one moves to the new. So that behaves exactly essentially as it used to, other than it's got an auto sort system on it. So you can hit on that button there, which just shrinks and expands the window. You've got an always on top option up here, and you can specify modes that the stack operates in. They're not actually stacks, they're a filter. So they're a filter that's applied to all the entries that are in the database. And this 80 meter filter just happens to filter for all entries that have been tagged as 80 meters. You can define a filter to have frequency ranges, bands, modes, sub-modes, or all sorts of bits and bobs, and that'll come in the future. The ability to be able to select on DigiL, for instance, put it into DigiL FT8 sub-mode, and when you press on DigiL, it will cycle through FT8 frequencies that are in the filter. So yeah, that's in the future. So return to last entry used. So that operates exactly as the old system. So if we're on 875 there and we go to 40, we'll come back to 875, which is how it used to work. So if we're on 660, 40, 80, we're on 660. You can also return to a specific entry. So if, for instance, we want to always return to this 521 entry, we can do that. So if we're on 660, we can, you know, move around, update the slot as normal. So that would change. And if I change that again, this one will change. We move to that one, and then we can just cycle around. You can hold shift as well on this to go backwards. The shift and control code has been improved. There was a slight problem with it, but now it actually detects the state of the keyboard. It doesn't really need to have focus and stuff like that for it to know. So it's a lot more resilient. But anyway, back to this. So we've set this one as well. We'll set the 004 as the return point, and as you notice, there's a little green light that appears on there to signify that it is the return point. So if we now go to 40 back to 80, it will always take us to that return point. even if we've cycled through. So if you've got a local net or whatever that you like to listen to when you jump on a band, you can set that up, and it'll do that. And if, for instance, you were on the WWV list, you could always go back to that, for instance, 10 meg whenever you hit WWV. So that's that option. The other option is quite, well, it's quite hard to explain, really. If you put it in this mode, it will not return to any of these. It will return to where the VFO has been moved to when you return to this band. However, of course, when you move this to like 670 and you leave this band, it will update this entry here, 004, to 670. Let's just do that. So this will insert at the same place, so this will look like it's changed when we come back here. So if we go to 40 and then back to 80, we're now on 670. However, if you've got all these locked, it was able to do that basically because that was unlocked. But if you've got all these locked, there is no slot left now for it to update, so you won't return back to where you left. So if you, for instance, go up here to 740 and we alter the zoom, say, and then we go to 40, and we can now come to 80. It has now returned us to 740. I've got to, I'm in an ahhing about deselecting this entry when it goes into that mode, because you're not actually on that one now. But if you were to hit 80, it'll probably move to 715. Actually, yes, it's done in the filter code, but not in the display. So that's something I need to fix, which I will note now. Fix return to last used. So that's a bug. It's been quite. I've made this video I think 3 or 4 times, and found extra stuff every time, and thought I might as well fix that first. Yeah, it's getting there. I think there probably will be some things that will need to be ironed out with it. For instance, well, let's go to VHF. I've got two sets added in here for the transverter, so we can add another one, and I'll show you what happens when you create a brand new one. So let's create this 1200 to 1300. Call it 23 centimeter. Call that one 70 centimeter, and call this one 2 meter. So if we go there, that's no problem. If we click on this, it'll just move as normal. If we update one, and then click it, we'll see the update. Just bear in mind that if that one goes above that one, which it will do in the auto sort, for instance 145/100, when you click 2 meter band, it will sort it, but this 145 will be in the place of this, so it looked like nothing moved, but it did. Really. So that's something you just got to get used to. But anyway, let's go 23 centimeter. Okay, so there's nothing added, so we're down at 0. So what you can do, just type in your frequency here that you want to go to, of course, and then you can do add new entry, and there it is. So that's that. Of course, you can delete stuff. You can't delete locked items. Yeah, and you can, well, we'll add some on at 7.175, say. We'll add a bunch in there. And in fact, you can add as many as you want of these, within reason. So yeah, and it auto, if you notice, all the dots are lined up, and all that sort of stuff. It formats everything. So if this was to get to 100, let's get to 100. It will jiggy it across. So that's all being coded up to handle that. Eventually, you'll be able to name these as well. So instead of showing a frequency, or maybe by here in a small font, or the other way around, if you put a name, it might do the name. If you define a name, it might use the bigger display for the name, and then a small small frequency number there. Don't know yet. Haven't thought about it. But there is the possibility for that. Okay, so delete is obvious. Well, let me explain. Because this is a filter, you could define another filter which says, I want to use 40 meters, but I only want to have the top half of the band. So you define a frequency range on the filter as well. And some of these entries might fall in that other filter. If you hit delete, it removes it totally, so it would vanish from the other filter as well. I'm going to add an option which allows you to hide an entry from this filter, and then you can turn on that option to show any that you've hidden in here. So that's coming, and a BandStack filter manager, which will have the section probably in a tree design, don't know yet, where the inbuilt defaults for all these bands will be listed, and you'll be able to look at them and look at the data that's in each one of them and this sort of thing. And then you'll be able to add more, and there will eventually be the ability to apply a different filter to these buttons. So if you're entirely a you say you want to spend the day on data modes, or listening to beacons or whatever, you know, you can create one for beacons. And you click on it and it will just cycle around the 40-meter beacons. So that type of thing. Let me just mute this a sec, so I need to clear my throat. So yeah, that's that anyway. Of course, we got 18 in there at the minute, but it also copes with if you're say we change frequency to 220. Okay, that will, if we were to move off there, it would update that 175 entry to 220 and put it at the bottom of the list. But what I'm going to do is shut down, just cross it, pull the plug on it, start it back up, and fingers crossed it'll return to 220. Because that's what you'd expect to happen. If it doesn't, I need to fix it. So yes, so now we're selected on that 220 that we made the update to. So that's all coded. And if you have return to last frequency turned on, and all these are locked, like on WWV, although it's quite hard to do on WWV because as soon as you move off, obviously it will select a different band, because I think I forget what's either side of here. No, in that case it doesn't, but yeah, it's I need to test that. That might be a bug. Well, let's just get to let's just get down here somewhere and see what it changes to. Yeah, that is possibly an error. So I'll need to look at that. It is not redrawing this, although the band stack I think is changing, so I'll have to look at that. Let me note that. Band swap with moving VFO. Need to look at that. So yeah, it's getting there. Still work to do, of course. We've uncovered a few little oddities just demoing it. So yeah, very interesting. Anyway, prevent this from going on any longer and you falling asleep, I'll better call it there. But some work left on this, so I probably won't release it today. Over the next couple of days, and I can have a look at those issues as well. If they are issues, the ones I outlined at the beginning of the video. All right, cheers, guys. Nice to come up with something new anyway, and have a bit of a tidy up in the internals. Makes a change from fixing bugs all the time. My next plans to move towards the splitting of the receivers. Is potentially to redo these VFO controls into a user control so that they can be easily moved and stuff. So that's the next thing. I have got a load of code as well, which I started for multiple meters, but I need to revisit that. So there's loads to do. And of course, right down at the bottom of the list is TCI maybe, but that might be in 2025. All right, cheers guys, 7-3. And by the magic of video editing, it was about 20 minutes for me. It's only a second for you guys. So yeah, what I was showing was the dragging of this, how it updates the BandStack box if we get back onto 10 exactly. Of course, we'll go to the WWV band. That line of code was commented out was when I was testing. But it's back in there now, and it fixes the issue as well, where this wasn't redrawn if you were returning to a last used frequency and nothing is highlighted, which is correct. And then if you hit 80, it goes to the first one, which is how it should be. So those two things that we found are resolved. Right, onwards and upwards, as they say. All right, cheers. Now to watch the football. Fingers crossed.